You know, I think the thing that has made downtown Austin blossom is that it's just an amazing place to live. And I don't know why we didn't figure that out earlier, but we didn't. But you've got parkland and, you know, outdoor space and Silker Park and Auditorium Shores and the whole hike and bike trail. I mean, amazing natural environment and the creeks and all of that leading into it. And then you've also got urbanity. You've got shopping and convenience and pedestrian environment and the intensity and lots of social scene and restaurants and all of that. And they're right next to each other. And so you can live where you can do both. You can have nature and you can have urbanity right together. There aren't very many cities in the country where it's possible to have that kind of life where you're connected to both of those things. So I think people discovered that, and sometimes it was a wealthy person who had a lot of money and thought, well, I'd like to have a single family house, and they do that. And sometimes it's people who are just kind of scraping by and then gathering all their pennies to afford that rental and do that. And then sometimes it's people in between. But now it is, I'm amazed at the range of people who have discovered this option. And the reason why it blossomed is because there was an opportunity here that very, very few cities had. And when people realized that, then boom, it kind of all happened at once. So I think living downtown has made me so much more aware of what this city has to offer than I ever knew before. And I thought I knew pretty much. I lived in a close-in neighborhood. So I was, and I had my office always downtown. So I thought I was really plugged in, but I didn't get it. No, I was not plugged in. I didn't understand what the opportunities were. And it really takes getting out and being a pedestrian. Then you start running across a restaurant. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that was here. And getting interested in it, and then pretty soon that's on your list of favorites. And so it really is walking around down here on a really regular basis that now I've got all my favorites. And there's a huge range of just restaurants right around here. Within 4 blocks, there are 14 restaurants here. And that range is everywhere from the Hofbrau, which is exactly like it was when I was a little kid. And it just looks exactly the same. It has not changed one iota. And all the way up to Aquarelle, which is my favorite sort of 5-star restaurant around here, that's elegant and impeccable and beautiful food and delicious. So it's the whole range. And then everything in between. And yes, I definitely go out to eat a lot more. For better, for worse, I definitely do. And I have much more investment in the restaurants I like, and it's not a small decision anymore where you want to go, because they're really good restaurants and ones I really feel some loyalty to and some investment in. Never, ever have really understood the live music scene in Austin if I were not living downtown. I have a son who's a musician, and I would probably occasionally go to hear him play, but I now know from him what are the really cool places to go hear music, and it just gives me a different sense of my neighborhood and all of that, and who's got that, yeah, we got live music, but that's just cover bands, and who's really into the ethos of what live music is in Austin and where those centers are. It was just the whole range of everything from elegant to down and dirty, and everything from you know, kind of prissy to you know, homeboys, and it just was great. And the whole scene on the streets downtown, Congress Avenue, 6th Street, just great life on the streets. So pretty much like in Austin, most neighborhoods have a neighborhood association of some sort. And I've lived in a number of different neighborhoods, and there's always been a neighborhood association. And usually it's a political entity. It's there to make sure that the city doesn't screw our neighborhood, or it's a kind of NIMBY thing. You know, we don't want this in our backyard. And then also they're just kind of looking out for mostly political issues that would affect the neighborhood. And that happens with the Downtown Neighborhood Association too. They're looking out for political issues, zoning cases. For instance, they were thinking of converting one of the streets to a bicycle-only street. These are issues that the neighborhood association would be interested in. But it's cool, I think, that they go beyond that. They also have a lot of kind of educational and social events too. So they always every year have a tour so that you can go and see how other people are living downtown. That's a really neat thing because everybody's curious and they'd like to see what the apartments are like there, what the units are like there. So they do that, and there are other things that, because downtown has so many other activities, they're involved often in those as well. So I think one of the very best things about living downtown is the mix of people that are here. Older people, younger people, gregarious people, quiet people. There's just a really good mix of people. And maybe I'm prejudiced by my neighbors in this building, but I think also other people I know downtown. It's just a really interesting mix. And I think everybody's a little bit feeling like we're pioneers here. We're stepping out. So you have the risk takers kind of doing this, which is great, because that, as a subset of Austin culture, is a really great group of people. So one of the very best things is the neighbors you have, the other people who live here. It's a very, very interesting group of people. And there's a real sense of community that's developed within individual buildings, but also if you meet somebody and they say they live downtown, you're like, whoa, we're buddies, we're in this together. I don't think you feel the same way maybe about Circle C or something like that. So there is a real camaraderie and sense of commonality that I think is wonderful downtown. I think when you live in a denser environment, you have to be a neighbor. You have to be thoughtful of other people around you. You can't live in your own isolated bubble. And sometimes that means compromising what you want a little bit. We have a bit of an issue now downtown with the residents wanting one level of noise control and bars and restaurants wanting another level of noise control. And we're working this out as a neighborhood. And you could look at that as a problem, and there's occasionally it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm thinking this is a problem. But in another way I look at it as this is really what being a community is about. We resolve those differences, and that's real. So I actually kind of like the fact that's going on. I think the whole idea of trying to figure out how we mesh all these things together and how everybody optimizes their life without coming in conflict with others, I think that's what we need to do a little more work on. And that has to do with, how many festivals and special events can we have without just wearing people out? And I don't think we're there yet, but we're going to have to keep our eye on that one. How are we going to control things like noise and other kind of craziness to make sure that it's fine for people with families, because people with families ought to be able to live here, and that kid's going to go to bed at 8 o'clock, They ought to be able to have a good night's sleep. And somebody else is going to be partying until 2 a.m., and they ought to be able to party. And we got to find a way to mesh those things together and not have those people come in conflict. And we don't want to exclude either extreme. I am so committed to us making downtown a good place for families. And I think that's really, really important, so that it's not just a 20-something, 30-something crowd or a retiree crowd, but we've got real life going on here, and that we can support good schools and children's museums and things like that. So, but that's going to mean that we're going to have to temper some of those other things in order to optimize that corner, being able to live down here. That's what we need to work on, and we'll get it figured out. But that's going to take some understanding and some compromise and some. Actually, I think there's some architectural answers to some of that.